Now I think I might venture to mention another matter. Months ago, I was invited to be interviewed by Mike Wallace, the tough senior reporter for the CBS 60 Minutes program, which is broadcast across America to more than 20 million listeners each week. I recognized that if I were to appear, critics and detractors of the church would also be invited to participate. I knew we could not expect that the program would be entirely positive for us. On the other hand, I felt that it offered the opportunity to present some affirmative aspects of our culture and message to many millions of people. I concluded that it was better to lean into the stiff wind of opportunity than to simply hunker down and do nothing. It's been an interesting experience. The program's crews have photographed hours of eyeball-to-eyeball interview, if you'll pardon that expression, dialogue and formal talks in various settings. They've interviewed other members of the church as well as our critics. From all of this, I assume they have distilled a presentation of about a quarter of an hour. We have no idea what the outcome will be. That is, I don't. We'll discover this evening when it is aired in this valley. If it turns out to be favorable, I will be grateful. Otherwise, I pledge I'll never get my foot in that kind of a trap again.
Your church says God and Jesus spoke with your founder, Joseph Smith, back in 1820 and told him to start this church. You believe that?
Yes, sir.
He was 14 years old.
Yes, sir.
A backwoods farm boy.
Yes, sir.
In New York State.
That's the miracle of it.
But more than a religion, Mormonism is a lifestyle, an island of morality, they believe, in a time of moral decay. President Hinckley acknowledges it is not easy to follow the Mormon faith. He calls it the most demanding religion in America.
It is demanding. And that's one of the things that attracts people to this church. It stands as an anchor in a world of shifting values.
Too many Mormons look and act like they came off an assembly line. But these young Mormon missionaries look that way on purpose.
You all look alike. White shirts, some of them a little wrinkled. Ties. I look at you, I look at your faces and think of your age, and I'm inclined to say, well, you're not much to look at, but you're all the Lord has.
Many young Mormons leave college for 2 years at their own expense to be missionaries. Every day, 50,000 of them go door to door in America and 150 other countries. This church film demonstrates that missionaries have helped Mormonism achieve its phenomenal growth. Half its members are now from outside the United States. But until its expansion into Latin America and Africa, church membership had been overwhelmingly white.
From 1830 to 1978, blacks could not become priests in the Mormon church, right?
That's correct.
Why?
Because the leaders of the church at that time interpreted that doctrine that way.
I knew that something was before us that was extremely important to many of the children of God. Day after day I went, and with great solemnity and seriousness, alone in the upper rooms of the temple, and finally we had the feeling and we had the impressions from the Lord, who made them very clear to us that this was the thing to do, to make the gospel universal to all worthy people.
There are some dates in the history of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints that loom large. they step out of the pages of history like milestones along a stretch of road. And June 8, 1978, the date the church announced that the priesthood was to be made available to worthy men everywhere, is a milestone that Latter-day Saints treasure.
I had been a member of the church since 1964. I knew what it was like to value the priesthood and not be able to hold that priesthood. And so that was a day that was so important to me and to millions of others.
He has heard our prayers, and by revelation has confirmed that the long-promised day has come when every faithful, worthy man in the church may receive the holy priesthood.
There was a hallowed and sanctified atmosphere in the room. For me, it felt as if a conduit opened between the heavenly throne and the kneeling, pleading prophet of God who was joined by his brethren. The Spirit of God was there, and by the power of the Holy Ghost there came to that prophet an assurance that the thing for which he prayed was right, that the time had come.
Mormons hiring Jews to help spread the word. Makes sense to Senator Orrin Hatch, but then he wears a mezuzah on a chain around his neck. A mezuzah is often put at the entrance to a Jewish home as a reminder of their faith.
It's typical of Mormon people to love all people, but especially Jewish people. I wear a mezuzah just to remind me, to make sure that there is never another Holocaust anywhere. You see, the Mormon Church is the only church in the history of this country that had an extermination order out against it by Governor Lilburn Boggs of Missouri. We went through untold persecutions.
To escape the persecutions, Mormons moved west. And when they reached Salt Lake, their leader, Brigham Young, pointed and declared it their promised land. And now Temple Square is their Vatican. In Salt Lake City, the church owns a TV station, a radio station, a newspaper, a department store, and a lot of the land downtown. Utah is 75% Mormon, and the church could wield political power if it wanted to. But President Hinckley says, unlike the religious right, the Mormon church does not have a political agenda.
We urge our people to exercise their franchise as citizens of this nation, but we do not tell them how to vote, and we do not tell the government how it should be run.
Elder Smith, Houston, Texas.
Houston?
Can I give you a hug?
Yes. Look out, you'll roll right over me.
Gordon Hinckley says he never intended to become president of the church, but that one by one all the other church leaders with more seniority died.
There are those who say this is a gerontocracy. This is a church run by old men.
Isn't it wonderful to have a man of maturity at the head, a man of judgment who isn't blown about by every wind of doctrine?
Absolutely, as long as he's not dotty.
Thank you for the compliment.
Mormons believe that after they die, their families will be reunited and will live together forever in heaven.
We know it's there. We have an assurance of that.
A lot of us who don't.
Yeah, I know that. But you could.
I've thought about it. I've not been able to persuade myself.
You haven't thought about it long enough.
The gospel challenges us to see things as they really are. It is a challenge that comes with the promise of clarity, truth, and understanding for all of us.
There is a sweet spirit that comes when you put race and ethnicity aside, when you just see each other for who you really are as a child of God. There is a sweetness that comes that can't be explained.
There is a spiritual that says, plenty good room, plenty good room, plenty good room in my Father's kingdom. Plenty good room, plenty good room. So choose your seat and sit down. And I think that rather than looking at the misperceptions, come and see who we are. Come and see who we are. I think you'll be pleased with what you encounter.